Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. This is Rob. This video, we're going to be exiting the Millennium series, and with this, we're going to be talking about that 10-year gap that we had between 2004 and 2014. And I have to say, this is probably one of the most painful Godzilla gaps that we've experienced, going back from the Showa era that went into the Heisei. It was like a 5-year gap, or close to 10 as well. We just had Godzilla Returns in the middle, and then even after that we had to wait 5 years. So in terms of consecutive years waiting for another appearance from the Big G, the 10-year gap was the longest. And the worst part about it is that it ended on a bit of a sour note. You know, I mean, like I said, even though I liked Final Wars, it's a movie that's not very great. You either love it or you hate it. But in terms of the overall era of the Millennium era, it was a bad exit. You know, to some degree, it was a pretty bad exit. And then from that point forward, you had very minimal content for Godzilla. And one of the things we did have, and if you go back into the archives of my channel, not too far back, because I had an interview with Matt Frank. This is around the time that Matt Frank was starting to do his Godzilla comics, and this is probably one of the reasons that, other than the fact that he had excellent art, definitely one of the contributing factors to the popularity of the Godzilla comics was the lack of Godzilla movies. And even that, for 10 years, it was a long time not to have anything Godzilla related outside of the comics. Obviously, there were action figures. At this point, was very easy to order. But in terms of enjoying a nice Godzilla movie, whether it's a cheese fest or it's an epic, you know, story of, you know, the force of nature that Godzilla is, we just didn't get any of that. And I would say about halfway into the 10-year gap, we started hearing whispers in the wind and the rumors of a Godzilla return. And it wasn't even Legendary initially. It was the Yoshimitsu Banno wanted to do a 3D Godzilla movie here in America. I think it was he wanted to do it here in America. And eventually that spawned into what would eventually become Godzilla 2014. But in between that, it was a dry spell that was, at least for me, very painful. You know, as a Godzilla fan, it just sucked that if I wanted to enjoy it, it's always good to go back to the old movies. Don't get me wrong. It's always fun to go back and watch those movies all over again. But after a while, you want to see something new. You can only watch an old movie you love so many times, you know? I know there's lots of movies that I love that after I've seen them for the first time, I'm like, oh man, I'm never going to stop watching this movie ever. And after about 5, 10, or 15 times, you're like, okay, I'm good. I can move on now. And it's just unfortunate that it took that long for a movie to come. And I think that's why I'm so, you know, a lot of people think I'm biased towards the American movies, and maybe to some extent I am, because they've been done so well, in my opinion. But I think the main reason I'm so energetic and optimistic about what Legendary and what United States Studios have done with Godzilla is that we've gotten this resurgence now. And, you know, other than Shin Gojira, prior to that, we hadn't got a Godzilla movie at all. The first group of people to step up and do another Godzilla movie after 10 years was Legendary, obviously with the permission of Toho Studios. And then the first Toho Godzilla we got in all those years was 2016's Shin Gojira. So I appreciate the fact that Legendary, you know, it could have been one or two things. They could have either done as bad or worse than 98, which if they did would have pretty much nailed Godzilla to the coffin, in my opinion. I don't know if there would have ever been anything to come out again, because from a Toho standpoint, the investment at this point was not fruitful. They lost a lot of money with the Millennium series, and without the improvements that cinema has made in the last 25 years, without taking that into account and then returning to the suit, you know, there's no guarantee of success. There would have been guarantee of success with us, the hardcore fans, and maybe some people in Japan. But as I said in the prior video, and some people agree with me on this, is that Godzilla in Japan is not nearly as popular as he is overseas, because, you know, if you watch my other 30 for 30 videos, I talk about how they kind of take the idea of Godzilla for granted because he's there all the time. You can go anywhere and buy anything Godzilla. You can see any Godzilla movie on DVD or video, whatever. It's always there. It's you know, I don't want to repeat what I've said in my prior videos, but for those maybe who didn't watch it, you know, a good example is like I lived in New York, and I was always blown away how tourists were blown away by visiting New York, because I've seen it every day. I've always seen the Empire State Building. I've always seen the Statue of Liberty was always there for me to see. I've always seen the Twin Towers prior to them going down, and, you know, all the other great sites of New York. When you have that on a regular basis, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you take it for granted, not intentionally, not out of spite or not out of any hostility or anything. It just comes natural because you think it's always going to be there. I'm sure if I went back to New York now, I'd probably be in awe because I haven't seen it in so long. So, you know, when Legendary came in and they did it right, you know, that put Godzilla back on the map, you know, and I know there's a lot of Toho purists out there that did not like the 2014 movie. They don't believe that it put Godzilla back on the map, but facts are facts. You know, you can deny them up and down all you want. And, you know, the first movie did exactly what it needed to do. It took half the hardcore fan base and won them over, and then it brought in a new audience for Godzilla. And now here we are. You know, here we are now from the 2004 movie, we're now 15 years later, you know, and we've gotten one Godzilla American movie, another one coming out in a couple of days. We've gotten an anime that was a trilogy. We've gotten Shin Gojira. There's Godzilla merchandise up the wazoo. His popularity is probably equal to his all-time high, which I always, in my opinion, thought was in the 90s. And, you know, it really makes that 10-year gap. It really I just feel more appreciative now because I don't know how long this run is going to be. And I don't know if we'll ever get another run after this. And if we do, it won't be how long. Who knows how long it might be, you know? But the 10-year gap it sucked. It sucked. And for those guys who are closer to my age, maybe in your early 30s to mid 30s, that are fans, you know, you kind of know what this 10-year gap is like. And for younger guys, I think some younger guys maybe felt some pain, but if you're like 18 or 19 now and you had just gotten into Godzilla in 2005, 2006, at least you had all the movies leading up to the end of the Millennium series to kind of carry you through, you know? I've been through every Godzilla gap that there's been, and nothing's worse than the 10-year gap. That was the worst gap in the whole Godzilla because it was 10 straight years. There was no break in between. You know, like I said, the Showa series, going from the Showa era to Heisei, we had Godzilla Returns in the middle. This time we had nothing. So that's why I tend to be very, very optimistic and very excited about what Legendary and what American studios have done, because without them, I don't think the popularity would be as high as it is now. They've shown Godzilla in a different light. They've modernized him, and they've modernized him for newer audiences. And because of that, Godzilla has a new surge of fans that we probably never would have gotten if this didn't happen. And that's why he's very relevant now. That's why I think his legs are going to last longer this time around. I'm hoping they do. But that's you know, that's we do have to give Legendary their props, and that doesn't take anything away from Toho, because let's face it, without Toho we would never have Godzilla. So it takes two to tango, right? So I've always appreciated Toho for their creation, obviously, but I definitely got to tip my hat and give my credit to Legendary for making him relevant again and modernizing him and bringing in a whole new slaw. Excuse me, I don't know which word to pick there. A whole new legion of fans would probably be the best word, and that's just great. That's great, and I don't think anybody should feel that Toho's being short-stringed. I don't think anybody should feel that Toho's not being appreciated, you know, because like I said, I know there's a lot of purists out there who despise any American iteration of Godzilla, and I don't know why, especially considering that Legendary and the people behind creating Godzilla have shown a lot of care towards the character, have shown a lot of respect towards the character, and they have the full support of Toho altogether. So, you know, I just think that this is something that we should rally behind together, both for Toho and for Legendary. And let's keep the Big G as relevant as we can for as long as we can, so that he can continue making, bringing in fans. We can continue seeing Godzilla content created, not only movies, some games, more comics. I mean, Matt Frank's very young, so I'm sure he can go a lot longer drawing. And let's see what happens. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments below, what was it like for you during the 10-year gap, if you experienced that like I did? Are there any old fogies out there like myself who experienced all the gaps in the Godzilla franchise? And let me know, if you can, briefly in the comments. How did you feel during these gaps, and how has it made you appreciate Godzilla now, knowing that he's very relevant again? That's it for this video. This is Rob signing off for E.T.N, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching E.T.N. Click here to watch more content. Don't forget to leave a comment. Also, make sure you like and share this video. If you want to know when the next video is up, click the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And most of all, make sure to click that subscribe button for regular content.